Hi everybody, my name is Alex and this is my non-working BSA Gold Star. I'm at the side of the road, pretty wet. I think my problem is here with the wiring loom. Oh, my bike's working! Hey! Yay! But if I turn my steering, I lose my bike. Made it back to the workshop. It's wet out there. But wet or dry, this issue is bang out of order. Let's examine the bike. This is the area of contention here where the main loom runs alongside the chassis and up into the headlight bowl. The loom itself does seem quite tight. You can see some chafing there. I'm sure this has got something to do with it, but it's during the installation of the loom that this problem has occurred. The motorbike's always had this little, and I put it down to the injection system. I thought it's just a really basic injection system and it's struggling. But what was really happening was the loom was having a bit of a bad time. It feels incredibly tight back there. So I've placed my microphone near the loom so you can hopefully hear the loom as I turn the steering. What I can tell is that when my steering is turned left, the loom becomes incredibly taut. So with these wires becoming taut, it's pulling on a connector block somewhere or pulling the loom apart internally. You can tell there's an issue because this is a protective band on the loom sleeve and this is a cable tie, and you can see that the actual band and the loom have moved forward because of how tight it is. So what I thought we'd do is follow the loom. I've popped the tank up just so you can get a better view. And here is the loom. But you can see here that the cable tie, there's actually a mark on the loom where you're supposed to put the cable tie. That is in place. So given that this is in place and this protection has moved forward, you can only assume that the loom itself has been stretched that way. And that's a worry in itself, that the loom is being stretched. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when the motorcycle comes back from the dealer as to where these cable ties are in relation to the loom markers. It's not like there's something in the bowl that needs, I mean, we could go check it, can we? There'd be a screw there we could undo maybe, and we could have a look inside the bowl. Let's do that. And here we are inside the headlight bowl. It was 5mm this side and a 5mm that side, and the actual headlight came off. Never worth leaving them dangling. So this is the side light and this is the dip and main beam. So don't let them dangle, it's not cool. And you can just see how tight everything is inside here. I was just having a look to see what's being pulled on, but when I turn the steering, you see how everything kind of like loosens up and has a little bit of give. I wonder if it's somewhere here that the problem is. And then as you turn, whoa, everything becomes so super tight. And we have a connector block that's being pulled on. I don't think these two are affected. For BSA fans out there is a spare power rail just sat there in here doing not a lot. It's kind of interesting. Is that like an add-on maybe for spotlights or heater grips? Let me know in the comment section. So what I'm going to do with the steering turned and it at its tightest point, I'm just going to have a little look and see which connector block is actually affected by the loom being that tight. And I'll see if I can't figure out whether it's that main block there that's actually one of the wires has been pulled to its absolute nth degree that's causing the problem. I wonder what would happen if I cut that cable tie off and released it. Would that invalidate my warranty, do you think? Again, this side, or this input from the loom is super tight, I'll give it that. Very, very tight, but everything feels fine, but it is super tight, fine. This side, it splits off and goes into the other side of the bowl, is incredibly tight. And so, there you go, it's like concrete, it's so taut. And I wonder if it's this actual block here, the main power block for everything that's being yanked on. I'm going to turn the ignition on, which we know is going to give no effect. Okay, I got nothing. Let's see what in here is being. Is it this block that I thought it was? No. Is it this side? I love doing these things kind of like live. Not as in live as in I'm going to get electric shock, as in live as in diagnostically figuring it out. No, gosh. So all the connector blocks are okay. Oh no. So there is actually an issue in the loom. I worked it out that the actual issue is inside my loom. There you go. Although this is super, super tight, when I'm pulling on it and thinking I'm getting it right, it's actually here that there's an issue right inside my loom. There you go. Bike off, bike on, bike off. My fault's right in there. And I guess as the steering has been turned, this part of my loom has just worn away. Look at that. Look at that, that's terrible. Well, just to show you, the marker light's illuminated. Steering is almost straight. And you'd think it's this block here, but I can push this block back. And then when I come to the loom, so is it here that's the problem? Here. So it's not this connector block, it's not this. It doesn't seem to be this one. You'd think it's this connector block here, but I can push it in, I can push it down. Yeah. The reason I'm pushing it down is to give the loom a little bit of, well, it seems to be around about there. And that's really odd as an electrician. Generally, if you have separation, that's the end of it. So everyone will say, right, okay, so it's in a connector block, fine. Is it this connector block? And what I'm doing is I'm pushing the connector block down just to loosen it off. Everything I do just keeps pointing to this area of the loom, which is kind of odd. You wouldn't think it, would you? You'd be like, oh, if there's separation there, it makes you think, oh yeah, okay, it's a connector block, but actually it's the angle of the steering wheel. So maybe I'll straighten the steering a little. I'll keep looking, but everything points to the issue being right there. I want to take these off and see if it's been rubbing on the chassis. Should we do that? These seem to be the only 4 mils I found. Everything else is a 5. I was almost impressed at that point. I was like, okay, so it has this little bar here which keeps the two separated. What the heck? Just yeah, okay. Wow. So what I'm feeling, this is bust open. Look at that. The reason I wanted to film this is just because, you know, they're going to go, warranty is okay. You know, the actual sheath itself is broken open, and I've got wires. How do I show you more? Okay. If we can get closer, let's try. Put the steering hard to the right. Can we get you in there, son? Okay, I am struggling here because the more I disassemble, the more trouble I get myself into, right? So here's my loom. I'm gonna move it, and there you go. Right there above my finger is where it's been rubbing against the frame. And if I could just zoom you in, you see the pitting on the frame where it's gone through the paint. And that pitting is because the wires behind here are arcing on the chassis. And the actual, I don't know if you can see that, but the back of this is all split open. There's literally a hole in the sheath of my loom. And ow. And some exposed wires. Now, how do I get to film that for you? Let's find out. And what I wanted to do was also prove that by yanking on these connector blocks, so there's the loom coming in, yeah? That's me yanking on the connector blocks, and there's no problem here. So that was the main theory, was that actually what's happening here is the loom is tight, and like one of the pins in the connector block is being pulled slightly out. And I worked with that theory because it actually made a lot of sense. But now I'm seeing that the sheath is open at the back. So you see it's all enclosed, it's there. But back here, the sheath is all split open and the wires are exposed because it's been rubbing on the chassis. What a shame. But again, do you know what I mean? It's funny that, because it ain't rubbing on the chassis right now, so therefore there isn't a problem. And that's actually where they come in. So I can give them a good wiggle for you all, just to show you the power staying live. Everything's fine until whatever's exposed on that loom touches the chassis. So I'll be very interested to see what the fix is from the dealer, in the respect of whether they just cut it open and tape everything up and then put it back, waiting for this problem to happen again, or whether they say, yeah, actually that loom's not fitted properly, it's actually too far back, is what I think. I reckon if I took the tank off and I moved the loom forward slightly, all of that slack wouldn't exist and this problem wouldn't exist. That's my theory, and so that's where we are. That's I wish I could do more to show you, but if I push this wiring loom against the chassis right now, of course everything shorts out and has a bit of a freak. I don't want to damage this motorcycle, but I wanted to show you what I'm experiencing, rather than just going, hey, it's a problem, because everyone's the same. They're all like, yeah, wire's being pulled, and yeah, it's just a wire being pulled. Well, it's not. It's not. Funny that, isn't it? I can yank on it. Funny that, still got power. The world always needs more proof. That's why this video is dragging on a bit, right? You see I have got power. Oops. You'd hear it anyway. So that's me pulling on the loom that goes into the float bowl. That's me pulling on the loom that goes into the headlight bowl. Does that satisfy your curiosity? So that's me pulling on the connectors that away, and I still got power. Yeah. So if that was in here, if the fault was in here, do you agree with me? Does it make sense? Happy days. The issue is in here. So when I mess with this part of the loom here, I'm pulling it away. You see that? I'm pulling my loom away from the chassis. Let go of my loom and it goes near the chassis. Pull it away. Can't get my fingers behind it really. There we go. Does that help? Isn't that not convincing? Push the connector block in. Push the connector. And what's happening there is it's just pushing that piece of loom away from the chassis, right? Ignition's on. Oh, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll get past that thing. I'll go here.